Welcome back to Families in Action on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. Boy, I was just thinking it sure is good to be able to sit here and talk about something that has nothing to do with fire.
Oh, I know. Oh, God.
I was like, oh, my God. But, my house was on fire. We put it out with garden hoses. I live on Iron Canyon. It was really bad there. And not everybody was as lucky as me. Somebody lost their life. 2 homes were burnt. So my heart and prayers are out to everybody that had been affected by the fire. That being said, Larry Schallert, I'm gonna hand it to you, let you introduce your people, and I'm gonna let you guys take it. How's that?
Thanks, Cary. That's great. And we all extend our sympathies to all the people that lost lives and property in the fire, and also, of course, our gratitude and thanks to all our first responders. Yes. We saw a lot of sheriff and fire guys out there, and volunteers, and the radio station especially. We listened to the radio station 24/7 for 4 straight days, and having KHTS to be here for us was fantastic. So
they really are. I mean, Carl, Jerry, you guys, and everyone at the station, you guys really are. You're here, local heroes. So thanks for all you do.
Totally. So we have 3 very special people here today. Natalie's one of our peer counselors, peer educators, and Janae is a former resident advisor, and Tracy is one of our therapists. And Stephanie, who gives, kind of helps us set up the show here, asked, well, what can we do to talk to parents whose kids are heading towards college, Mm-hmm. And so we thought, having the experts here would be a really good thing, because a lot of students are heading towards the dorms for the first time, as you mentioned before the break. And so first question is, what does a resident advisor do? And why should parents be aware of what the resident advisor does?
So my role as a resident advisor is I was an upperclassman living on a floor with all incoming freshmen. So I had about 50 women on my floor, and my responsibility was to ensure the safety and well-being of those women as they navigated their way through their freshman year. Kind of provided assistance for alcohol, sexual assault, suicide ideation, or helping them find their next class, where the library is. I had a lot of training kind of to help with all situations as they went through the huge transformation of going to college for the first time.
Correct. And it can be overwhelming even to try to find the library.
Yeah, exactly. That was the first week, was a lot of little
sure.
tours.
And did you have any graveyard shifts there?
All the time. At least 3 times a week I worked overnight and did rounds, and I was on duty. And saw a lot of different kinds of things during those times.
So we're going to really want to know what some of those things you saw, though. But Natalie, what's the role of the Cougar Peer Educator?
Well, for Cougar Peer Educators, we don't have any staffing on-house in College of Canyons because it's community college, but we do try to spread the word, and we try to make awareness. And lately we've been making presentations about alcohol and sexual abuse to these kids to make sure that they actually hear these things, because I think there's a lot of opportunities where they don't. And it's very important because there's been many incidents I've heard of just through friends, of rape or just different uses of drugs or overuses of alcohol that are very dangerous.
Yeah, and so what are some of the hazards, that students, might encounter when it comes to alcohol and drugs when they first start college?
There are so many hazards because it's really a pressurable time, because there's a huge amount of change going on in a student's life. You have your new classes, you have a new life going on. You might have to support yourself. You have a job. There's all these things to juggle. And just by doing drugs and alcohol, you could either lose out in these jobs and get lost in the middle of life, or your grades could go down, or just things that could affect you very immensely. And you could lose friends, or you can make the wrong friends. You can keep going on and on about these problems.
And Larry, this is very interesting, but a new report finds that 1.2 million full-time college students drank alcohol on an average day last year, and then more than 700,000 students smoked marijuana. That's just on one day.
It's you want to say it's frightening, you want to say it's normal, but you want to say, hey, this is a time when lots of bad things can happen, from rape and sexual assault kinds of things to prefrontal cortex damage and that sort of thing. So it is a really big deal, and It's hard to know what to do when your student is away from you, away from home. You know?
And part of this statistic also, by the way, is that there's a huge amount of students that are trying alcohol and drugs for the first time in college.
And that's very dangerous because you really don't know where they're going to go with that or how much they're going to try. And a lot of these kids have no idea how to even approach drugs. Like they could say, oh, well, this little bottle is nothing, even though, like we were talking about the drug earlier, one drop could really hurt you.
Right.
So, I mean, the potency of these things can be really
What about Adderall?
affected. Adderall, oh.
And
oh
that's
goodness.
Finals week for an Adderall, that was one of our biggest issues. Seeing that, we had a couple times where we had to call the campus police because it's being distributed throughout the floor, throughout the building, which if you're not prescribed it, it's dangerous. You don't know the effects and everything.
Yeah, I heard it's huge. In college, I was talking to somebody else that says everybody was taking it during finals.
Wow. So that's become, and people get it from their doctor and then they sell it
They
to.
they sell it out and split
So
it up. And
it'd be interesting to hear both from Janae and Tracy, like what are some of the problems that you guys have seen? You know, what sort of things do you see as a resident advisor, as a therapist, or a counselor on the college campus?
Well, I see a lot by way of depression, stress. I speak with students a lot about a concept called the stress threshold. Like how many things can you have on your plate before you blow your top? So when you, like say you have 4 or 5 different things going on at once and then you can't take it anymore, if you pass your stress threshold, that's when you start seeing symptoms of depression, anxiety. That's when they're tempted to take drugs, even if they never have. So the thing that I would talk to parents about, you know, with your student that's approaching going into college, especially if your student is leaving home, give them an out. Let them know that you're here for them. They can come home on weekends. You can go and visit them. Right. You know, anything to let them know that you have their back. When I worked with kids in high school, some of the parents gave their kids an out to say, no, I can't try that. My parents random drug test me, and that would give them an out because most kids would feel, oh yeah man, I won't do that to you, you know, and they'll stop with the pressure. In college, you may not be able to say my parents drug test me, but maybe you can say something like, you know, if I do and I get in trouble, my parents aren't going to pay for my education, or my parents are going to pull back the purse strings, or
my parents, you know what, are randomly drug testing me in order to fund me.
Exactly. That's a good out. So I think giving them an out would be very helpful.
Tracy, it's kind of sad that people really do need an out. I mean, it's if you want your kids to just say no. It's not that simple.
Yeah, it's not. They have to have something at their disposal that they can turn to.
Right.
You know, whether it's prayer or meditation, whether it's a peer advisor, whether it's a counselor that they can go to. We have a lot of students that come in to see us about these issues, and we try to help steer them on the right path.
When should somebody go see you guys? What should they go see you guys for?
If you're feeling sad, whereby it's not passing in a day or two, especially if you've been sad for over a week or especially over 2 weeks, that's when it starts entering into clinical depression.
Right.
You can come and see us if you feel like you're overwhelmed, if you feel like you're having relational issues, whether it's peer or boyfriend, girlfriend type issues. Just come in and talk. Like, you know, some people aren't going to have their problems solved in one therapy session, but they can acquire coping skills to deal with whatever's going over a few therapy sessions.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, one therapy session can actually put somebody on track.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
They really could.
Yeah, I've heard that lots of times.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's good to remember, all colleges have counseling centers. You know,
Yes.
some are more developed than others, but all colleges have some kind of counseling center, and it's always confidential unless the student signs a waiver that says, hey, you know, you can talk to the parents. So we're not going to be talking to the parents unless it's life-threatening. But it's good for parents to say, hey, if you need to talk to somebody, you know, there's somebody there.
Yeah, it's already paid.
And that's what the peer counselors, and you guys probably make those referrals all the time.
Yeah, it's already paid for through that health fee you pay when you're filling out the application and
Right.
registration process.
But I'll tell you what, you guys really, Larry, you've done a great job over at COC, though. I mean, putting
Thanks.
the mental health piece together, because there really is. I mean, look at these guys; they're great. You guys got some great stuff going on there, so people that want any kind of help, it's there.
Yeah.
They just got to say, "Whoa, I need it. I want it."
Yes.
Right. It's a crack team, I gotta say.
Yeah, there you go. You wanted to say something. I see you ready to jump in. So
I
go
mean,
for it.
I was just thinking about the topic of students just being overwhelmed and stuff, and I always found that getting into hobbies or getting creative about what you're doing, there's a lot of things to do, actually, even in just SCV, besides just sit down and drink with friends or have drugs and stuff. And I think kids always forget to get creative. I actually find the whole Pokemon Go thing's really exciting, so that's a new thing, obviously.
I might have to try that. I thought it was ridiculous, but I know.
Yeah, I see people walking down here at midnight, on Newhall here. It's a poppin' place, but
Some Pokemon's coming. It's going to help downtown.
But I mean, besides that, then there's like bicycle riding or there's hiking with friends. I mean, people just got to learn to get out or take on hobbies. I mean, I find musical instruments are a great way to vent,
Right.
These little things can actually help a person very much mentally. It's just because I think when you're invested in something, you do so much better.
I mean, but look, we do have a lot of things here. People say, "Oh, it's so boring." No, it's not really true. We have hiking trails. Some are still left.
Yeah, exactly.
We have bike trails.
There's even a train station,
There's a train station. There's a lake up the street.
Yeah.
I mean, we do have things here that are. There's music on Friday nights or whatever down in Valencia.
Exactly.
And we have
And
a lot
Saturday.
of stuff here. If we really the concerts in the park.
And I think you can make tons of new
Gyms,
friends.
lots of
and-
gyms.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah. Gyms
yeah.
are a big
I mean,
deal.
I live at LA Fitness these days.
I know, right?
So,
So there's lots of options. But I mean, I just wanted to mention that as a side note.
And it's true on any college campus. There's lots of resources, and we try to encourage students, whether it's College of the Canyons or Chico or UCLA or wherever it is, to take advantage of being on a university campus, because there's movies and lectures and friends and clubs and all kinds of things. And there's no other message is get involved with something on the university, so you make friends and you have something positive going on.
and I think that's what you said is what I mean. It fed right into what you said, because if you're now in college and on the campus, there's even a ton more stuff
Yeah.
that you can get involved in. But you gotta reach out and look and see what's out there that might fit your needs or wants.
Well, many universities have newcomers clubs. So there are clubs specifically geared for freshmen or transfers, and they set up your activities for you. There's things that they also have academic peer advisors in these newcomers clubs to help students transition to college life away from home.
Right.
And
So
all of
always
this-
look into that.
That is a major
Yeah.
transition too.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
leaving home for the first time
Yeah,
is pretty intense. Even if I got to get out of here, once you're out of there, it's like whoa,
It's a different story.
Yeah.
different world.
And all of these things that we've been talking about are very positive, and these are great because if people get involved in them, it keeps them out of trouble, really.
Right.
Because listen to this: about 4 out of 5 college students drink alcohol. Wow, according to the National Institute of Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism. Now, about half of college students who drink also consume alcohol through binge drinking. Each year, 1,825 college students between the ages of 18 and 24 die from alcohol-related unintentional injuries. More than 690,000 students between the ages of 18 and 24 are assaulted by another student who's been drinking.
So what's the worst thing you can do if your friend comes in smashed? What's the worst thing you can do?
I think
Nothing.
leaving them alone. Yeah,
Exactly.
I mean, you
Yeah.
don't
Putting
leave
them to
anybody alone.
sleep is the worst thing you
Yeah.
can do.
Yeah.
Because I've been doing this 30 plus years, and I've been to so many funerals of somebody that wasn't an addict, wasn't an alcoholic, drank too much booze, and somebody put them to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
yeah.
they're walking, if they can't walk and they're drunk, the best thing you can do is keep them up.
Exactly. Exactly.
Janae just said off camera that the worst thing you can do is nothing.
Yeah.
And that's,
Yeah.
do you see the binge drinking on the four-year campus?
Yeah, so the unique thing about being a resident advisor is we're with the residents 24/7. So we see them in the morning when they're getting breakfast to 4 a.m., 3 a.m. when they're coming home at night. So one of the things we did is we had late night duty, so we'd have to walk around the building and have a cell phone. During the weekends, from Thursday to Saturday night, we'd get numerous phone calls of people being passed out in their rooms, the bathrooms, outside.
Very
And
dangerous.
it's very dangerous. And the amount of times that we had to call the paramedics and thinking, like, I might not see that resident again. Like, they're throwing up, they couldn't breathe, they couldn't stand, and their friends not doing anything or being afraid of the consequences. I think that's something to really be aware of.
And there is a new deal. It's the 911 thing, that if you call the police and somebody's overdosing, you will not get arrested. They're not interested in you, even if you're high, even if you have drugs. That's a new law. They're there to save lives. And in today's state of affairs, things are really bad because people are drunk, but they might have taken pills too.
Yeah.
So you don't know what's going on. And remember, every 19 minutes somebody dies from an accidental overdose in this country. That means we've already lost almost 3 people since we've been on the air.
Yeah.
So we really need to pay attention. If somebody's drunk, like Larry said, the worst thing you could do is nothing. The best thing you could do is keep them up. You don't want to put anyone to sleep when they're throwing up or dizzy or can't walk. That is deadly. It could be a deadly mistake.
And we want to remember that what we just talked about also is it's not just dangerous for the person that's drunk, but we're talking about almost 700,000 students between the ages of 18 and 24 who have been assaulted by other students who were drinking, and then you have the accidental injuries. So not only is it a problem for the person that's drunk, it's a problem for people around them.
First thing that goes when you start drinking is your reasoning to reason.
Inhibitions,
You
right.
do stupid stuff.
And legally, I mean, if anybody's intoxicated or they have drugs and they get assaulted or if there's any sexual matters, that's considered sexual assault, no matter what, even with consent, because consent is absent.
Say that again.
Consent does not matter if there is any drugs or alcohol involved.
So if you're drunk and something happens, you in trouble.
Oh, yeah. I mean, in any situation. So the best thing is just to be careful and don't even get involved in that stuff and help the person.
And we've talked about this before on this show, but over half of the rapes that take place are alcohol-induced.
Oh, yeah.
So if you just remove alcohol from the equation, we'd automatically have the problem of rape in this country. Isn't that amazing? From the college's perspective, how do we handle this?
Well, I'm so glad you bring this up because it's really important because what we're trying to do is not just educate people about drinking, but also educating people about the relationship between alcohol and drugs and sexual assault. And so, and also telling people what they can do to help their friends avoid sexual assault. And I'd like maybe some of the ladies to talk about that. But also what you can do if somebody you know has been sexually assaulted. Right. So there's 2 different kinds of really important matters that on a college campus are just really critical. So I don't know if you want to talk about that, guys.
Well, to address the first one, never drink anything that's been given to you by a male or female. Never have a drink and then have your attention be removed from it and then go back and drink to it and, drink it. I don't know what this thing is called, but I heard of a fingernail polish that some guys in Colorado invented where you could put your finger in and if it changes colors, you can tell that it's been...
I've actually heard of that too.
Yeah, if it changes color, then you can tell something's been put in your drink. But I think just being mindful of what it is you're drinking and whether or not your attention has been removed from it.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Janae? Do you have any, what do you tell students when they go out together?
So when you go out with friends, which a lot of college students will drink, and as long as you're being careful with it, it's better. But go out with a friend, have someone who's sober, who's aware of your surroundings, know where you're going. Don't go to a party you don't know anybody. When you're drinking, you're more vulnerable, and I think definitely let your friends know where you're going. Maybe call a friend, text people. I think that's the main thing. And if something does happen, campus is, for instance, Chico State has a place called Safe Place where you can go and get help and services, whatever you want related to sexual assault. And there's a counseling center and the health center all providing excellent resources.
Right. And if you're uncomfortable, if you're somewhere and you're uncomfortable, get out of there.
Absolutely.
That's when you pick up the phone. If you don't have a car and you call somebody, do not stay somewhere where you're not comfortable. If something's not right, get out of there.
Exactly.
Larry, how easy is it to get a hold of student health and wellness over there?
Well, it's a breeze. We try to make it as easy as possible. You can walk in, between the hours of basically 9 and 5. We're open till 6 on some nights. You can call us at 362-3259. You can tell a teacher or somebody on campus that you're upset about whatever reason, and they'll help connect you. We have a lot of students that just walk in.
And are you going to be judgmental when they walk in and say, "What? I can't believe what you just told me"?
It's a no judgment zone. It's a safe zone, whether you've been, whether you're LGBTQ, whether you have problems with alcohol and drugs, whether you have a mental illness, no matter what, you need women's health, you need pregnancy test or SED test or whatever, we're going to be there for you.
And by the way, I know when you're having your issues, you're thinking you're the only one. Whatever it is that had happened or you have done or you have seen or whatever, you all heard it already.
Exactly.
You won't be the first one that said it. So.
Exactly. And there's also plenty of online resources. I've done a great job because I help run the website for COC.
All right.
And there's a huge list of resources.
By the way,
and
thank you for
hotlines.
putting our resource. So we have the
No
mental
problem.
health screening
Yeah.
on there.
Yeah, if
Cary.
there's any resources out there, feel free to submit them. You can see my email on the bottom of the page. So, but there's thousands of resources in this valley, in the area, hotlines you can call. There's really no stopping for these resources.
Very cool. And on that note, I think we're going to go ahead and take a break. We'll be right back. This is Families in Action on your local hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.
Welcome back to Families in Action on KHTS, your hometown station. That's the first time I've ever been able to do that.
Larry,
Wow,
you
that's
did a
good.
great
Really good.
Thank you very much. We have an amazing show
You're fired,
today.
Cary.
We have Janae Schallert, who's a former resident advisor at Chico State. We have Tracy Taris, who is a therapist at College of the Canyons. We have Natalie Miller here, who is a Cougar peer counselor at College of the Canyons. And, of course, we have your own Mike and Cary, who are like amazing radio personalities.
I thought he was
Well,
going to remember
thank
to
you.
call one of us the Silver Fox.
That wouldn't be me, okay? At least one of those will have to be out of my name. No, maybe both.
That was an excellent introduction.
Oh, thank you. I was just thrilled. to
Tracy
do
went
it.
both.
Just with the minutes that we have left here, what would you like to talk about? One of the things that I would like you to say something about, because you and I are both on the Suicide Prevention Committee, and I know you do a lot over there at the college to try to prevent that from happening in your neck of the woods. So what would you have to say about that?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because we want to make sure that everybody has a suicide hotline in their phone. So I'm going to give that out. But before I do that, I want to remind people that last year we had 3 suicides of College of the Canyon students.
Successful suicide.
Successful suicides. They were College of the Canyon students or recently attended College of the Canyon, and it was in the fall. We have not had any suicides since, and we're doing everything we can, including Tracy helping us out. But we're really focused this fall to make sure that students know there's help out there, parents know where the help is. We want to make sure everybody knows this is college is a stressful time, and we're really focusing on the fall of 2016 to try to avoid that. So,
Now,
in that,
Larry, before you give out the number, I got to interrupt
Okay.
you for a second because I want Cary to know something. This is great. I've seen Larry do this so many times over there at College of the Canyon. We're out there, we're doing a presentation, and they have pizza, right? And of course, the college students come up, they want that pizza. They make good pizza over there, by
They
the way.
do.
I want
And,
the pizza.
and Larry says, I want to see you put the suicide prevention phone number in your cell phone before you can have a slice of pizza. So there's like thousands
Yep.
of people out there that have
Yep.
this phone number.
Yep, we've done pretty good because they get some pizza if they put it in there. And our goal is for every student and every staff and every faculty on campus to have this number in their cell phone. And so they have it 24/7. There's somebody to consult. It's like somebody like Tracy on the phone 24/7 that they can talk to if they are feeling suicidal or if somebody they know is feeling suicidal. It doesn't matter if it's 2 in the morning on a Saturday. So here's the number. It's 1-800-273-8255. 1-800-273-TALK, T-A-L-K. 273-8255. We want everybody to have that in their cell phone, and I'll bet you if you look at Natalie's cell phone, you would
Oh, yeah.
see it.
Oh yeah, maybe more than once.
Yeah,
So-
so if you're feeling suicidal or if you know someone who has spoken about suicide, just have them call in and talk with someone. There's somebody on the other end of the line to hear you out, to ask you questions, to give you coping skills, to help you get to the other side of what you are feeling in the moment. Like suicidal ideation can be a very impulsive thought that enters the mind, but you don't have to go along with that thought. You can fight it by reaching out to someone through calling the hotline or coming into the Student Health and Wellness center, or talking to a best friend and having your best friend or any friend call for you.
And remember, thoughts and thinking won't hurt you. Actions will.
Exactly.
And the other
Thoughts
thing,
and the actions can save you too.
Exactly.
and the other thing we want to remind everybody is that it's a myth. If you talk to somebody about suicide, it's going to cause them to commit suicide. That is wrong. Doesn't happen. Talking about it is a good thing.
Actually
and by
provides
the-
some sense of relief. Somebody finally noticed I'm upset.
And by the way, it is not unnormal for somebody to think about hurting themselves.
Yeah.
I
And
think
also-
lots of people do. The
Yeah.
thinking won't hurt you.
Exactly. And also, like, if you're talking to somebody and they feel like they want to commit suicide, don't feel like you're the only one that can help them. Like, because you're not going to be a lifesaver all the time, but there's so much you can do. And sometimes bringing that extra person in to help is the only thing you can do.
And
you
the
know?
perfect thing is if you have this phone number on your cell phone, you can hand it to them, and they're instantly in touch with somebody that can help them.
And if you feel like you're over your head and that you can't help, then reach out. If you're thinking, well, maybe they won't like me, you'd be saving their life.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
if you're over your head, reach out. We have 2 minutes left, and you wanted to say one more thing about leaving somebody alone. Don't
So,
leave.
right, we talked about, well, make sure, like, the Suicide Hotline will tell people where the local resources are, like Child and Family Center, like Santa Clarita Mental Health Center, like Action Family Counseling. So they will let you know where the resources are. But the other thing we wanted to make sure we covered was when you're drinking with a friend, we don't want you to leave them alone.
Right.
And so don't just say, hey, she's getting drunk, she's doing fine, she's got somebody there, I think I'll leave. No, you want to make sure you keep
Make
an
sure,
eye on your
yeah.
friends, right? I don't
Exactly.
know if you saw that on campus at all, that sort of thing.
Yeah, we'd find people in the bathroom by themselves passed out or out on the front benches, and people would say they're afraid to call. Easiest thing to do is call 911. You're not going to get in trouble. They're just going to get the help and resources they need to get better.
And you're not going to get in trouble, but remember this. Let's say you don't call, and you leave them, and they get molested or raped or dead. How are you going to live with yourself? So sometimes you have one shot. It's just that one little shot. Pick up the phone, call somebody, make sure your friends are safe. And Larry, you guys were great today, and the information is wonderful. And you guys really, you've done some wonderful stuff over there at COC.
Thank you.
And I love having you guys on the show. So
Yeah, we want everybody
I
to
do.
have a great experience in
Yeah,
college.
yeah,
And a
yeah.
lot of people are getting ready to ship their children off from Newhall to College of the Canyons. We're staying locally here.
Well, everybody's place
but there
else,
are
too.
challenges involved, and student health and wellness is certainly there for you, and that's proven.
And I think that there's a belief that drinking and alcoholism is a rite of passage for college. That's not necessarily the case. You can go to college, get your work done, and go on with your life without ever having to party that way.
be a leader, not a follower.
Exactly.
Tracy got the last word.
Yeah, so on that note.